Elected as the chairman of our GOP in Georgia for the next couple of years. What's the first order of business that you would do as chairman of the GOP? What's the very first thing that you'll do the next day after you're elected? And we'll start in reverse order this time, okay?
Meet with my staff, be sure that they understand what their job function is and where we're going, and work on a plan for the next 60 days so we have some general idea of what everybody in that office is going to be doing, and then we're going to go implement those plans. That's what you do if you're running a business. That's what I do if I'm running the state GOP. We can't get off the ground unless we have great success with our employees. Hope they all agree to stay. I don't know whether they'll stay in the same positions they're in. It's an evaluation process, but that's the first thing that needs to be done.
Well, John took part of my answer, but at the same time, I think that a lot of it is also I'd ask everyone what they want to see done. Everyone who were my opponents, including my opponents. I want to see what this very detailed specifics of what they thought too, because I want to make sure that we're all unified on the same page, that there isn't any bad blood. And so the first thing I do is just speak with them, honestly, and then meet with the staff and make sure that that's going well. And if it's not, then the people who are good stay, the people who don't go, I know that that's the way it should work.
Thank you, John. First thing I'm going to do is your chairman. I didn't know.
Alex?
You guys that are not lawyers, you did that in the courtroom, they cost you $50. But I guess when I'm your chair.
Let me interrupt you. The reason that went off was there's a tornado warning in this area till 6:45. It wasn't just my phone, so you don't know.
Okay. Well, it's much hotter in this room.
I'm a little bit tone deaf. If you could put the mic a little closer to your mouth, I'd very much appreciate it.
I will be happy to. Is that better? I appreciate you telling me that because I'm deaf too. My deafness came about from a little tour in Southeast Asia with an artillery shell. But that being said, thank you. My first thing that I will do is I want to bring together representatives and leaders from the grassroots, representatives and leaders from the legislature. And I'm going to sit them down in a room and say, we have got to develop communications between each of these factions. We've got to be inclusive. We've got to bring in the women. We've got to bring in the minorities. All of the elements of our party need to sit down together. And while I talked earlier about honey and vinegar, I have some vinegar in me too. And if they don't choose to come, I will publicly embarrass them. Because I want everyone to come together and start communicating so that we can figure out how we can cure our party's malaise. Because right now, what I'm hearing is it's broken. And if it's broken, we need to look at who is going to bring the party together. Who's been there at the party and it isn't working. And if they've been there and it isn't working, then you better look carefully at what they are and what they have to offer. Now, with that said, getting the party functioning again. Raise money, identify candidates, and support those candidates.
Thanks. Obviously, clearly, the first thing to do would be walk in there and talk to staff. You certainly need to talk to staff, but I want to make sure y'all understand they're your staff. I want to make sure they understand they're your staff. That when a county party chairman calls, that they're ready to talk to them. I don't think and I've called this state party for a long time. I was a county party chairman in Gwinnett County from '96 to '99, and then district chairman that was fortunate to have Cherokee County in that 6th district, as well as I saw Mr. Denby come in back there, as well as having Cobb County, a big chunk of Cobb County in the 6th district. Welcome. you didn't get recognized, I'll make sure you did. Here's the thing, here's what we'd have to do. The main thing to do is in taking over any organization. When I became chairman of the board of the Georgia Charter School Association, we had challenges. We had financial challenges. And the thing you do, I'm a management consultant. I go into organizations that are in trouble all the time. I'm not saying the Georgia Republican Party is in trouble, but the first thing that you do is you have a SWOT analysis. Those of y'all that have never done these things, it's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. You do an analysis of what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are your opportunities, and what are your threats to your organization. And we need to do a SWOT analysis. And here's how you do it. I'm going to get the 14 district chairman and the rest of the state executive committee that has been elected. We're going to have a new first vice chairman. We've got some of those candidates here. We'll have a new second vice chairman. We'll have the state, all the new district chairmen. And we'll have an over 80, under 80 chairman for the counties. But we'll get them in a room at Stone Mountain or in Macon or in Columbus or somewhere for a weekend retreat. And we're going to do a SWOT analysis. And we're going to discuss what are our weaknesses. We got to know our own weaknesses before we go fixing anything. So we'll do a SWOT analysis. And then we will, the following day, we will do a strategic planning session. And we will follow that. I'll have a facilitator that's a professional facilitator come in and facilitate this. That's how you do it. That's how you plan. We can't plan 2 years of what the party needs to be doing by randomly asking people or having people feed us. We need to get in a room, sweat it out, and get the ideas put together. Thank you.
Okay, if I can take a couple of questions from the floor. State your name, please. All right, Jeff, go ahead and state your question, please. Ken?
My question is kind of a multi-part question. I'm starting with Mr. Padgett. I've heard a lot of people talking about the Republican Party how it's broken, and I hear a lot about factions, I hear a lot about grassroots. I only heard one person in here mention talking about reaching out to the groups. Will you, each of you individuals, reach out to Campaign for Liberty? And Ron Paul's a bad word because Ron Paul's not running for anything. They're ex-people. But there's a lot of other groups out there that have a lot of right ideas, but I've seen them ostracized by groups all over the state. What's your opinion on that?
Who'd like to take that?
By the way, I apologize for my last answer because I thought the question was what we're going to do the next day. I've got a plan for the next 6 months, but we'll get to that maybe in the rest of the meeting. I don't think that we have an opportunity to win if we don't reach out to any group or any individual that wants to come into this tent and participate and be a volunteer and be a voter and write a check. All of them. And everywhere I go, I say the same thing. I've gone to some groups that were predominantly folks from the Ron Paul movement in the last year, and I've been to groups where there were none, just standard, regular Republicans. But the fact is, in this state and nationally, we've got to do that. In this state, the demographics are going to change in some areas in the next 10 years. We're going to lose seats if we don't do that just because of demographics. So we have to do that. Are they welcome as far as I'm concerned? Absolutely. The only thing that I ask is that when we finish wrestling around with our rules and we select our candidates, that we don't sit on our hands, we go vote. That's all I ask. Anybody can come in and participate. They don't have to do that. I'm not putting the arm up behind their back and making them do that. I don't have any way to do that. But I'm going to go around the state as your chairman, and I'm going to ask them, when this Marinko, Ron Paul, Tea Party, right-wing Christians, moderate Republicans, right-wing Republicans, whatever group, whatever alphabet group there is, come into this tent and join us and be Republicans. But when they go out of the tent, out the back door at the end, they go vote. We can bring them all in the tent, have them all have a big fight, and if we don't say go vote,
we're going to be back, I'm afraid, in the same boat we were in this last go around with guys Barack Obama. I don't want that again. I don't have, you know, my business won't survive Barack Obama, I'm afraid, much less another 8 years of some of these folks. So that's what we got to do. And I think if the right chairman can get that point across to all these diversion groups, that this is what we have to do, fight it out in the party, that's fine. You know, the Democrats used to do that. They'd have a convention. It was the grandest thing in the world to watch because they were having fist fights on the floor. Somehow they managed to buy enough votes now that they don't have that problem. They just say, go vote, and they all go vote. Well, I want to say, at the end, go vote, and we all go vote. Thank you.
Would any of the rest of you like to comment on that? Okay.
Yeah, I'm proud to announce something that just happened over the weekend. I got we're talking about other groups. A group just endorsed me on Friday. Citizens Helping America Restore Government Ethics, short as CHARGE. I don't know how many of y'all have heard of CHARGE, but it's a pretty large group out of Gwinnett that's now spread around to the counties around Gwinnett County. But it's Citizens Helping America Restore Government Ethics. And they just endorsed me Friday. I've also worked closely with your own Jenny Beth Martin up here in Cobb County with the Tea Party. She and I go back a lot of years and are very, very good friends from back when she was first vice chairman of this, the Cherokee County Party under Linda Parker, and that's when I was the district chairman of the 6th district. So very familiar with the Tea Party and worked closely with her. And Jenny Beth actually said back when she found out I was going to be running for state party chairman, she said, that's the one thing that will bring me back out of the Republican Party retirement is supporting you, BJ. So no, working with Tea Party is absolutely something, as well as Americans for Prosperity. Last summer I was on the Americans for Prosperity Speakers Bureau. John mentioned they have a Speakers Bureau. Americans for Prosperity had a good one, and I was on their Speakers Bureau supporting the charter school movement. So happy to work with Americans for Prosperity, as well as Kay Godwin and Pat Tippett out of South Georgia, and helping them, and they go out and do the true grassroots work down at the Capitol. You know, when this ethics bill thing came up, they were a couple of the people that kind of came under attack because they're down there doing this on their own dime. They pay for their own apartment at the Capitol and do things on their own dime. And those people are very important to us. They're protecting the values of the Republican Party down at the Capitol, even with some of our legislators and stuff. As Seth mentioned, we do need to bring the party together and everything and work together, but we need to bring the groups together and the legislature together, as he said, and show our support for those guys down there and make sure that everything's working together. They're an organization called Georgia Conservatives in Action, and I'm happy to work with them as well. So no, we absolutely bring all the groups together.
Anyone else? Thank you.
I don't want you to elect me. I don't want you to elect me. I want you to elect us. We have got to be the party of we. And that means every single group has got to have a seat at the table. Everybody has to have an opportunity to be there. And we've got to bring them together. The role of the Republican Party is twofold: identify and qualify good candidates and raise money. Now, there's a group that no one has spoken to, and that is the business community. You've got to be acceptable to the business community. You have to outreach. You have to be able to go into the boardroom of a major corporation or any other business and simply say, look, I need $50,000. I need $100,000. And when you look at the state budget of the Republican Party, you look at where the money comes from. Businesses, we are the party of capitalism, we are the party of enterprise, and we have to take that message to the business community. We are there for you. We, party of we, want you to join our team. And when we join our team together, we'll be successful. If somebody splinters this way, somebody splinters that way, or goes their separate routes, we will not be a team, and we will face what we have done last year. And one last thing. We've got to instill in every member and every candidate to not violate the 11th commandment. I am so sick of our candidates going out there and talking bad about this candidate and talking bad about the opponents, because there's a TV camera running or a video camera running, and you're giving fodder to the Democrats. You're making their video that says, oh, Seth Hart said John Pageant's a crook, or BJ doesn't know what he's doing, or anything like that. And I'm not saying that for the record. But what I am saying is that we've got to choose a method of not doing that. We've got to be caring about everyone else. All four of us are people of principle. The difference in our ideas is minuscule. But taking that message and putting it together as a team is what it's got to be, is building a team. I want to be a part of it. Thank you.
You asked regarding bringing in other groups and factions and just sort of trying to work together with others, and I spoke about that a little bit earlier. I think that what's really vital in the future of the party is that we do need to do that, and I think that I have been doing that since I've been campaigning. I've been talking to a lot of groups that seem to get very little attention from the Republican Party, or that were, in a way, that they felt being treated badly by them. I think that what's interesting is that the principles that we hold dear is what should define what Republicanism is. I think that our fiscally conservative, constitutionally based, limited government, rights-based party is what we need, and that's what it comes down to. It comes down to it does come down to value bases such as being pro-life. It comes down to individual rights not to be hit by drone strikes, things like that. And I think that when we realize what our principles are, it's very easy to draw in other groups. I think the ship has sort of sailed because back when the Tea Party formed, and I've said this before, my belief on why the Tea Party formed is because people in those groups felt that the Republican Party had moved away from its principles. Now, some people may disagree with me on that, but that's what I believe. And what it comes down to is that now there are lots of other activist groups out there, and I think that the party itself needs to work with them, maybe form coalitions and share information, share databases. Because in the end, when people come into the party and want things to do, I mean, right now, all those grassroots organizations have things that can be done. A lot of them have good lobbying connections with the state legislature, and I hesitate to say lobbying because it's really grassroots activists. Those people aren't paid. So I definitely do not support the ethics bill that required people to be lobbyists just because they have an opinion on politics. But those groups are active, and those are ways to be involved. And I think that working very closely with those groups is vital for the future of the Republican Party in Georgia, and we need to do that. And I have done that. And I think that at the state convention, I asked all of you to remember, like, there'll be plenty of endorsements from organizations that are very good friends with candidates. Even organizations that are friends with me, and I'd say ignore endorsements. And when you get to the convention, look around and see who's actually grown the party and actually brought in people who are young, people who are members of these grassroots organizations and the Tea Parties, and who they're supporting. Because in the end, it's a very factual-based decision. Who has grown the party? And you'll see that by who paid the convention fees and are delegates and alternates of the convention, and who they're supporting, and which one of those are new and which ones have been around for a long time. And the people who've been around a long time, they've done a lot of work for the party, and I respect their opinion greatly. But to all of those people, if you're looking for who is growing the party, look around the room and see who's new and see who they're supporting. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Questions? Let's see. This lady here had her hand up first.
My name is Karen Sagandy, and I'm a lawyer in Woodstock. And my question is, as y'all have noted, other people have ideas too. And I've been in the GOP for a very short time. I'm one of those people from the other tents. I started in politics like in 1988 or something as a libertarian, and discovered it was too hard to get on the ballot and all that. And I finally migrated propose some amendments, or resolutions, resolutions, and so I dropped them off by the deadline and everything. And when I went to the convention, the state convention, they had armed guards at the hallway, and you could not go to the committee meeting where they were discussing the resolutions. And I just would like to know if y'all would have a more open policy so it would be easier to attend committee meetings at the convention. Thank you.
I'll say yes.
Alex?
One thing that I think is very important, especially getting to know a lot of people who have just gotten involved in the party, is solving that exact problem. I think that there should be information sent out very easily electronically that explains to everyone exactly how the state party runs, and that everyone knows about it. They know how the committees work, how to be involved in the committees, how to get to the committees, and keeping it open. I think that having guards preventing discussion with people from the committee is bad, and I think that people should know who's on the committee so they can discuss things with them ahead of time. These are things that have not been done before, and I think that a new perspective and new leadership of the party would allow that to happen, and I think that would be something that would be towards the top of the agenda.
Anyone else like to comment on that?
Thank you, Karen. I've served as a parliamentarian in a couple of the state conventions and everything else. The greatest problem that the convention has is fan fatigue. It goes on and on and on, and this year we'll have a chairman's race, and the process of the chairman's race will be such that we'll vote until someone has a majority. Someone may drop out, someone may not drop out. There's no elimination process. My point is this: to expedite the process, if you have a resolution, I think the requirement is you have to get it to the resolutions committee in writing a certain period of time ahead of time.
I did.
And why they would not honor that, I do not know. I wasn't in the leadership of the party. But I think it's critically important that we do that and that we be heard and have the opportunity to be heard. And I'm sorry it happened, but I can tell you, I remember one chairman's race, and we didn't get out of that. This has happened when Alec Porter was first elected chairman of the party. We got out of there at 7 o'clock at night, just electing the chairman. And then they declared the convention adjourned, and all the remaining positions, first, second, secretary, treasurer, all those things, were done by the executive committee. So it becomes a question of time, and I know most of you would like to, somewhere during the day, you're going to say, gosh, I'd like to go home. But that's the problem, and as you know, the process is you nominate the officers, you go through the elections, and then you go down through the election officers, and finally the rules and resolutions are at the end of the day. So a lot of times they don't get heard. Thank you very much.
I was the chairman of the Credentials Committee, so I don't know anything about specifically why or whatever. Each of the committees has a small amount of time to deal with a lot of business before each convention, and I don't know the specifics of that. All I can say is, yeah, absolutely. Would I be more open? Sure. But than what you described. But I'm not familiar with the situation. Here's what I am familiar with. Resolutions got hundreds and hundreds of resolutions submitted to them. And one of the things that they do as a committee is, and there's one person from each one of the 14 districts put on one of those committees and a chairman named. And what they do is they try and cook all 200 or 300 of those down into resolutions that go to the floor. And it's up to that committee to then decide what goes to the floor and what doesn't go to the floor. And, you know, somebody has every right to not be happy that their resolution didn't come out, but it's that committee, the committee situation. It's not the chairman, it's not the party. I'm just suggesting that, go ahead.
I'm just saying, they wouldn't let me into the committee room, and I just would like to know why.
Well, then,
what would your position be on that? Would people be able to come in and sit and watch the committee?
and I'll be honest with you, with credentials, we handle a lot of things that it wasn't appropriate to have anybody in that committee room except for the committee. Lori served on that committee with me. It wasn't appropriate for us to have people in there all the time. And the committee, in order for it to get the work done, to have 100 people sitting there, would be very, very difficult. So I believe there is time that those committees have that the door should be shut and they should be meeting because they got the 100, 200, 300 resolutions submitted to them, and now it's their decision to decide what goes to the floor. And I appreciate that you want to be there, but and yes, I believe they should have some public discussion as well. But at times, I believe those committees do have business to take care of, and that business should possibly be taken care of by that committee, because it's the committee that's making the decision. And it's not, it wouldn't be an audience participation thing, you understand, right? I mean, so it would be observing them debating, kind of like down in the legislature or something. But that's about all of the people.
By the way, the severe weather has already passed, so.
For the last several years, it's been my honor to be sitting up on the stage during the convention, and I have a lot of other functions to contend with other than the rules of the different committees. First of all, there are guards backstage in all the conventions because we have speakers come in that need some amount of protection. I don't remember where the resolutions room was last year. I didn't like the layout of the convention hall, period. But it would have helped your situation and anybody else's situation if we had explained in the rules of the convention that all you're allowed to do is just submit your resolutions. And I'm guessing from what you're saying, there was nothing said about being able to or not come to the committee meeting. It would have helped your situation. We just simply put better rules in. And I won't write the rules this year, not the chairman. Next time we'll do a better job so at least you don't get frustrated. I don't want anybody frustrated with this party. That's not what we're about. And we're certainly not supposed to be about hiding from you. It's your party. I'm just one guy. You know, it's your party. We want to make it as convenient as we can. And by the way, the convention's in Athens this year. We look forward to having you there. Hope you come and enjoy it and bring your checkbooks, because, Lord, we need the money in Athens. Thank you.
Okay, I think we have a question in the back.
Hello, my name is Jason Halliburton. I'm in Cobb County. I have one quick comment and then a question. One thing that I agree is a house divided against itself cannot stand. So I'm not really for Ron Paul, libertarian, this and that. We're all Republicans if you believe in the principle. That's number one. Now my question is this. If you see the RNC, after CPAC, they put together that they're putting $10 million towards minority outreach. Now, you have a lot of black Americans that are naturally conservative, but they vote Democratic for whatever reason. We're not going to get into that now. 2016, I don't want to see another Democrat in the White House, okay? So with that being said, this Saturday, the Republican Party, the Fulton County GOP, is having a minority outreach to teach fellow Republicans how to reach out to minorities. My question is this. Leadership starts at the top and it trickles on down to the bottom when it comes to setting precedents, policies, and procedures. Will you be available and willing to have statewide sponsored outreach programs to teach people how to interact with other cultures? Because me personally, I'm black American, my family's from Jamaica, I'm first generation American. I cannot go into the Asian community and speak on issues that might resonate with them just because I might not be aware of their culture. So my question to each panelist is, are you willing to take what Fulton County is doing this Saturday and initiate that and help each county and hold each county accountable for reaching out to minorities, whether it's black Americans, whether it's Hispanics, or whether it's just someone that's interested in the Republican Party, and hopefully we can bring them on over. Thank you.
I'll go ahead and start and just talk loud while you walk up here to save time. Yes, absolutely. Here's my plan, and we don't get to go over our entire plan as we stand up here, but I intend to have the first vice chairman, whoever becomes the first vice chairman of the party, will oversee the committee structure that I talked about earlier. Okay, they would be the head of the committee structure. It works for me in the Knights of Columbus. I'm an officer of the Knights of Columbus, and our vice chair of the Knights of Columbus has 30 minutes of every meeting, and that he then has them, calls on them for reports of the committees. I'm going to ask the second vice chairman to head up what's called the coalition area of the state committee. Right now on the state executive committee, we have coalition members. We have our African American, we have a Latino, we have the Asian, we have a faith-based member of that, we have a college Republicans, we have the young, we have quite a few, a military outreach, but they kind of don't do much because they haven't been asked to do much. And I think we need to ask these people to do more, and they're willing to. I've talked to them. And so we need to do that. Now, something that I want to mention to you is I don't like the word outreach. I got told by a black gentleman named Fred V-Man Watson down at the Capitol about 13 years ago. He told me, y'all got to stop doing outreach the last 6 months of an election. Y'all got to start the day after an election and do 2 years of embrace. And what he did is he put his hand out on my shoulder and he said, this is outreach. You're reaching out, but we're still arm's length away. You got to embrace us. And the only way to embrace us is to do it 365 days a year for the full 2 years between elections. You don't do it 6 months before the election. So the outreach thing, no, but I then have the second vice chairman of the Georgia Republican Party head up making sure that our coalition people are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and that they're working together. I believe that there's a component that can take the faith person, can be set over here in a meeting with the African American representative, and the two of them can talk about how they can go talk to maybe some of the African American church leaders and get that message out through them. They're very conservative. So, yeah, I've got ideas about doing that. I mentioned before, we need to be shouting from the mountaintops when we do something for the African American community that they like so much. 78% of them voted yes on the charter school amendment. We need to be yelling that out to all those people and saying, you got possibly improved education because of Republicans. We need to help them with that.
Thank you, BJ. Do you concur with that, or would you like to make a comment?
Well, I've had a plan since I got in this race to bring more people that are in the GOP into the GOP through a committee structure that will be made up of county chairs, district chairs, and our state committee members. Our state committee members, nobody's mentioned tonight, it's a great wealth of information and republicanism in this state. These are folks that have been, a lot of them have been part of this party for years and years and years, and they have great ideas, and they're vastly underused. We'll use them. We'll have a series of committees. I don't know whether we'll call them outreach or minority committees, but we haven't got a name for it yet. But we will sit down with members of these different groups, Hispanics, African Americans, Asians, and we'll review with them what they think we need to do to make inroads into those communities. Now I have to tell you, folks, we're part of the way there. We've got the message. You can't tell me